Welcome back to another episode of Home Sweet Home Cooking. I'm Rocky, your host. My mother is going to sit this one out. This is a recipe that she has not done before. It is a recipe that I have not done before, so I'm going to wing this one. The boys over at Sorted Cooking YouTube channel inspired me to do this, not by any specific recipe they covered, but they've talked about treacles and tarts, and I've seen them make tart pastries and all that. And I made a bourbon brown butter pecan pie, which called for golden syrup. So I had to make a big batch of golden syrup, and this recipe also calls for golden syrup, so I'm going to use this recipe to use my golden syrup. First we need is a pastry. We're going to go in a tart pan, so we got to do a pastry. I pulled the pastry recipe off of one website, I pulled the filling recipe off of another website. This one I think is called Saveur, it's French. SAVEUR.com. And it calls for 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You're supposed to do this with a pastry cutter. I've seen the boys on Sorted do it with a food processor, so I'm going to try it the food processor way. Calls for, even out a little bit there, 6 tablespoons of chilled butter. So this actually, my mom freezes her butter, and I forgot to tell her that I was going to come over and do this. So I chopped it up when it was frozen. Then something came up and I couldn't do the recipe that day. So this has been back in the fridge. So this is a 1 stick, but it calls for 6 tablespoons. So I'm going to leave about 2 tablespoons worth out. And that's probably close to 2 tablespoons there. You want to keep this cold, so you want to work a little bit as fast as you can to do this. You don't want the butter to melt on you. Matter of fact, this is going to get chilled a couple times throughout the cooking process, or the making process. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Use unsalted butter, by the way. And then it's going to pulse this until it gets crummy. Don't want to go too far, maybe a little more than that. And into that, you're going to pour 1/4 cup of ice cold water, and that's going to bring it into a dough. So yes, I've got a measuring cup with ice and water in it, and I'll let that sit till I got ice cold. And when it's done, when it's still crummy like this, but you can squeeze it together and it forms dough, that's when you know you're done. So grab yourself some saran wrap. Gotta make yourself a pretty big disc, so give yourself some room. Gonna drop this out. Bring it all together in the center. Alright, so now you're just gonna cover it up and into the fridge. Alright, we're back from having our breakfast, and it is time to get this show on the road again. It's time to roll out the pastry disc. It has been in the fridge for, at least half an hour. Bring it out. I'm going to do this on parchment paper. Oh wow, that is stupid firm. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and cut to the end of this when I get it rolled out, because this is going to take some time being as firm as it is, so stay tuned. I've got it rolled out. It should fit into this pastry pan, and it's very thin and very delicate, and that's the reason why I rolled it in parchment paper is so when I pick it up, I can use the parchment paper to get it up off of the counter and very gently, very delicately get it on the rolling pin. Now, very gently and delicately you need to roll it out over the tart pan. And just lifting up around the edges. I'm going to let it shrink down into the bottom. And this is, being the fancy crust it is, you don't want to have repairs in this like you can do with a standard pie crust if you want to have it done properly. And seeing I'm doing this inspired by the boys from Sorted, I want to do it properly. Now, also learning from the boys from Sorted, you don't want to trim this yet. You're going to let it bake first, because if you baked it right now, if you trimmed it and then baked it, the crust is going to shrink and you'll have less crust to put your filling in, or the tart crust, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not going to do anything more to it. I'm going to go ahead and dock the bottom, and let me grab got a fork here. So
I took good care of you.
Yeah, the fork is for the egg, Ma, not for docking. And the last step is, I'll be right back, I need one more thing. Alright, we're back at it. Put this back in the fridge long enough for the oven to preheat to 375. Now I'm going to take this, just going to put it on a cookie sheet, not that it's going to leak. It's easier to get in and out of the oven. I'm going to cover it with the same parchment paper that I rolled it in. I'm going to fill it with beans. If you have ceramic baking beads, you'd use those, or just a pound of beans would work. And you're going to blind bake this. What the beans do is it helps it stay down to the bottom and not puff up if you have air pockets. It shouldn't puff up too much anyway. There's no leavening in this. It's just all-purpose flour, so it should stay pretty level anyway. Now this is going to go in the oven. It says 10 to 15 minutes. Remove the beads and continue with the baking. So let me get this in the oven. While this is blind baking, we're going to go ahead and start on the filling. So I'll meet you over at the stove. Alright, it's going to go in the middle rack of the oven, close to it. And 10 to 15 minutes. 1 1/4 cups of golden syrup. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that on medium-ish for now. To that, the zest and juice of 1 lemon. Alright, now I'm just going to get that heated through until it loosens up. And, oh yeah, use pats of butter. This is the remaining teaspoon, or remaining 2 tablespoons of that 6 tablespoons that went in the crust. And just going to get that heated through, and we'll be back in a bit. Alright, while that is melting down, getting loose on the stove, I'm going to get the next couple ingredients prepped. You need to add some breadcrumbs, just white bread. I actually used a like a Hawaiian sweet bread kind of thing to see how that would be. So I'm going to put this in a food processor. These are left on the countertop for a couple days and just crunched up as best I could. You want to blitz them down, make breadcrumbs. I've seen some recipes, one recipe only called for 6 tablespoons and another recipe called for 1 1/4 cup. So I think as long as I'm in between there, I'll be good. 6 tablespoons is only, well, it's not even a half a cup. So I think at about 1 cup will be plenty. Alright, the next thing that we're going to need to prep is some eggs. 1 egg actually. Gonna beat 1 egg with 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. So 1 egg. 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and give this a quick beat with a fork. And keep an eye on that. Got a few minutes for the crust so I can take the beans out, or the baking beads. And this is ready to go for when the crust is out and ready to be filled with the filling, and when the filling is thinned out from being on the heat, so this will mix in. So be back when everything is up to that point. Alright, so the crust is done blind baking. Now I'm just going to take a knife and go around the outside edge of the tart pan and get the excess taken off. Back onto the pan. So the crust is now done. It has been blind baked with the beans, the kidney beans, for about 10-12 minutes. I took them out and I baked them for another 7, and it's got a few spots to the side to puff up on it, and that's not a big deal. The treacle, the golden syrup and lemon has been heated through and it's thinned out. So now you're going to add to that your breadcrumbs. Give that a stir. And to that, the last what you want to add is the eggs. You want to let that cool down a little bit so you don't end up with scrambled eggs inside your filling. But make sure you get your crumbs all incorporated so there's no clumps. So the egg, 3 tablespoons of cream. The cream will also help temper it a little bit. I want to move over a little bit so we're in the center of the camera here. Give it a good stir till it all comes together. Now, I am not certain how this is supposed to look or taste because I've never done this. Right now it looks like a sweet, sticky, crummy mess because it's breadcrumbs and syrup, and I'm probably still going to make a mess. I'm going to pour the mixture into your tart. Don't think it's going to overflow. And back in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. Alright, it is cooled where I can get my hand underneath it. How to get this out? A 2-piece, you want to set the bottom on an item. The ring will fall away. Get that out of the way. And then
I showed up for the taste test.
yes, she did. There we go. bottom piece comes out. So that's your 2-piece tart, quiche, pan, whatever you want to call it. And that is what it's going to look like. Watch it slide right off there onto the floor. You can see the crust is just slightly golden color. And it's holding its form, it didn't fall apart. And go ahead and cut into it.
After all that work, if it ended up on the floor, we'd be on the floor eating it.
Yeah, this is a little more work than I'm used to for a dessert. I should probably be using a serrated blade to get through that, so to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and eat that part that broke.
I got it.
I'll say I've never had one of these before. So if anybody here is from Britain, England, whatever part of the world tastes these, does that look like it's supposed to?
Don't know.
You got a thin layer of where the breadcrumbs rose to the top. I made a layer on top, and then the inside is gooey, like as a southern would say, like a pecan pie for us here in America. So let's give it a try.
My husband said it looked like a pumpkin pie, and it does.
A little bit. Slightly lemony. Not in your face though.
I kill for a lemon.
That's pretty good. No lie. That's worth the work. Not sold on the crust. I mean, I think I could probably just do a standard pie crust if you want to be lazy.
No, the pie crust isn't great.
Yeah, it's I think I overmixed it, got a little tough. But it's the flavor of the filling is fantastic. I can almost see putting this in a graham cracker crust, pie crust. Some ice cream on here. Supposedly this is Harry Potter's favorite dessert. It was on one of the websites that I was looking through for recipes. Don't know if that's true, so Harry, if you're watching this, let me know. But yeah, that is definitely a treat. I'm trying to think how I can make it less labor intensive. Like I say, maybe a prepared tart or a graham cracker crust. But that filling is fantastic.
The custard holds together well.
What do you think? Thumbs up? 2 thumbs up?
I think you can make it again. You notice that I did not volunteer.
Yeah, she, yeah. Hey Mom, can you make this for my birthday?
No.
I need, if anybody has a recipe that's going to use more of that golden syrup, I've got about a cup left. So if you have a dessert that uses that, please put that in the comments below, because I would like to find something else to use that. It's not going to go bad, I don't think, for a long time with how sweet it is. Works with hydroscopic to pick up mold or bacteria, so it'll last for a while. But I would like to use it regardless.
Kind of like honey.
It is. It's very. When I was getting sick when I was younger, I'd mix honey and lemon juice and put it in the microwave to make it so you could swallow it and drink it. And that's what that kind of tastes like. This golden syrup has a little bit of honey in it, or it has a little bit of a lemon in it, which is a good thing that this tart has lemon in it, because it pairs very well. So recipes for golden syrup, please put one down below. I just have 1 cup more to use. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, share this with your friends, and we will see you, well, you will see us in the next episode. Have a great day. I have more.
It is good.